Penal Code 273A is child endangerment. It's what's called a wobbler, meaning it can be charged as a misdemeanor or as a felony. Now, child endangerment charges can fall within the purview of domestic violence. Why? Well, first of all, let me explain that child endangerment does not mean that the defendant hit the child or physically injured the child. It means that the child was put in a position of danger, whether life or their physical well-being could have been in jeopardy. Sometimes in domestic violence cases, if there's a child around when the alleged fight is taking place, very often the defendant would also get charged with 273A, child endangerment. Even if that child wasn't physically harmed, there was the potential of the child being harmed, and therefore that charge will come in. And again, it can be charged as a misdemeanor or as a felony. Again, depending upon the facts, depending upon the severity of the alleged fight. Were punches being thrown, or was it just yelling and screaming? Was it just people pushing each other a little bit, and how close was the child? All of these things come into play in terms of determining if how much danger that child allegedly was facing. And I say allegedly because, again, you're being charged with a crime. It does not mean you're guilty. It doesn't mean that you did it. It doesn't mean that the police investigated it properly, but that's what they're charging you with. It's our job as your attorney to investigate the case in depth, aggressively, look at all of the potential defenses that are there, including whether or not the facts are actually accurate, whether the witnesses are believable and credible, and whether or not the police also did their job by the book and appropriately. There are times when there is viable evidence against somebody, but because the police acted improperly or illegally, that evidence can sometimes be dismissed because we all have constitutional rights in this country. One example that we have of a 273A child endangerment case involved allegations of an argument between a boyfriend and a girlfriend with the child present. So my client was charged with both a 243E1 domestic battery against his girlfriend, as well as a 273A, which is the child endangerment statute, as you know. The case was ultimately dismissed because the mother was deemed to be not credible. Some of the things she had said turned out to be inconsistent. We were able to look into her background, some of the other things she had. She had a criminal record involving check fraud, and that can actually be used if you have a criminal record that goes to honesty or believability or credibility. That can be brought in by the attorney to question your credibility. So ultimately, based upon several months of hard work and investigation of the case, we were able to convince the prosecution, the district attorney's office in this case, to dismiss the charges against our client for lack of evidence, and they did. With regard to child endangerment, the defendant needs to have allegedly and willfully exposed the child to pain, suffering, or danger. And again, the key word is willfully. If it was not intentional, if, for instance, the defendant can say, I had no idea the child was there, and a reasonable person would agree that the defendant wouldn't have known because the child shouldn't have been there, or what have you, then that weakens the case against the defendant as to child endangerment, because again, you need to have willfully acted in those circumstances, and not knowing that the child is there is not consistent with being willful under those circumstances. So if you have been charged with a penal code violating Penal Code 273A, we do offer a free consultation. Please contact us, and we will go over the case with you in depth, sensitively, but at the same time, we will look at all the options that are available to you. We will strategize with you and tell you what realistic possibilities are available to you. And I say realistic because our law firm, our motto is not to either exaggerate positives or negatives in order to get your business. It's to give you a realistic perspective of what you face and how we can help you reach a positive disposition. Thank you.